something that inflicts suffering on another being isn't good. Now that might not mean we all have the same idea of morality over time. That might just be a common thought with people, simply because we're social creatures.
I agree. Morality is related to the person, not to the action.
All right. So if my personal opinion is that he is less valuable than I am because he's not Caucasian, does that make my opinion right? Just because it's my opinion?
Being relative doesn't mean that some people's morality is objectively good.
I can think that you're inferior to me just because you're white.
Pardon?
You're out here talking about stuff that doesn't matter.
No, but you're saying that if I have an opinion, that makes it right.
No, it does. To you, not to me.
Yeah, and guess what? If I have a racist attitude, that's absolutely wrong.
Not to me.
And if you base morality on a personal opinion,
things, right?
I'm saying, if I don't think racism is wrong,
that doesn't
then
mean
like
that the
the
morality
KKK,
is objective, but
then I'm
objective
racist.
facts often inform the way we think and feel about things.
Yeah.
all right,
I mean,
so I'm
have you
saying
talked to the KKK
objectively
about that?
racism is wrong.
Have you talked to the KKK about that? Because they think
I sure have.
Are they allowed to say that they have morality?
Well, they're allowed to do whatever and say whatever they want to,
Right.
but I'm going to
Morality is
respect
relative.
them enough to disagree with them
The
because
morality
I
is
take what
relative.
they say seriously, and I'm going to look into the face of the KKK and say, I'm sorry, because a
you
human
both
being
have
has
different
innate
relative
value,
ideas of
your
morality.
racism is
Yes,
wrong.
you did. You just said morality is relative. Thank you.
No. I said if there is no God, morality is relative. Because if there is no God, you don't have a mind prior to the human mind that defines what's right and what's wrong. Which means it's obviously the human mind that defines right and
I think
wrong.
it's plausible to say that despite the existence of God being true or false, there's a logical explanation for why we've developed a sense of morality. Because again, we're social creatures, and often, things develop over time without there necessarily have been an intention in the first place, right? That isn't how everything works.
All right, so what I hear you saying
What
is...
was advantageous for us, honestly?
Right. So what I hear you saying is social contract is the basis of morality. Really? Well, what happens if I want to be part of a gang? And in order to be part of the gang, I got to murder somebody. Just because there's a social contract doesn't make it right. What you're saying sounds like survival of the fittest. Whatever helps us evolutionarily advance is good. Well,
We've progressed past the point of thinking that way, but yes, I do believe that is what got us here.
okay, well then what's the basis of morality from your perspective?
The basis of my morality, which I think most people would agree, is that which inflicts suffering on another animal or another entity,
Okay.
that which infringes upon the well-being of others,
Good.
is generally not considered moral.
Good. Then what's the difference if I step on an ant or a cockroach or step on a baby? Is there a difference?
Well, that's the difference between your outlook and the outlook of somebody who's Jane. It's simply a relative opinion based off of, frankly, the individual lens that you see the world through. And that's only informed, frankly, by the way you grew up and the way you interpret your facts. So, realistically, you think that way because of the environment that you were brought up in. Maybe the fact that we don't all think that way is evidence that maybe we don't have some predisposition of the idea of morality.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is environment defines what's right and wrong.
No,
And
that's
I'm
what
standing
brought
here
us to the
saying-
point where our brain developed the idea of developed sentience. From there is where we got to the idea of morality.
Okay, so I'm saying I don't care if your environment taught you that other races are inferior to yours.
Of course.
Racism is wrong, not because I grew up in an environment that taught me that racism is wrong. Racism is wrong because human beings are not accidents. Human beings are created in the image of God for a purpose, and that is why to look down on another human being for a gender reason, for a racial reason, is wrong.
For what
Absolutely
reason?
wrong.
So do you think that idea extends to all living beings, not just humans?
I insist there's a difference between a cockroach and you. If I step on a cockroach, I am not going to be responsible for murder. If I step on you and kill you, I will be responsible for murder, for I have violated a human being created in the image of God, and the cockroach is not created in the image of God. You have more value, innate, intrinsic value, than a cockroach.
Well, so again, I frankly, on a fundamental disagree about why we as people would agree on the fact that killing a human is worse than killing a cockroach. I think, again, we kind of just naturally give more value to things that are like us, or people that are like us, naturally in groups anyway. I mean,
Really?
like, how much can we really relate to a cockroach? And honestly, how much does it really infringe upon our ability to live and, frankly, be content with ourselves to step on a cockroach? It doesn't, but you have a conscience, right?
Yes.
And of course, that conscience doesn't have to stem from there being some higher entity, right? You
Right.
can have been taught that. Just like some people, frankly, weren't taught that, or for some reason that idea just didn't stick with them and they turned out into what most people would agree to be bad people, rapists, murderers.
Yeah, but just listen to what you're saying. Most people. So majority opinion wins the day. Most people, whatever most people believe, that's right. Whatever most people believe that's wrong, that's wrong. Are you sure that you really believe that and are willing to live that out? So you're going to go around taking a popular opinion vote to figure out what's right and wrong?
Of
I
course
doubt
not.
it. Hopefully not.
Of course not.
Well, then why do you talk about majority opinion? The majority of us agree that stepping on a person is worse than stepping on a cockroach. The question is, why do you believe what you
I don't necessarily
believe?
think that the person who's Jane is any less right than you are. Maybe I don't. I mean, I'm not even saying that that is
Well,
right.
then why would your professor have the audacity to mark your answer on an exam as being wrong? Why didn't you just go back to your professor and say, wait a second, that's my opinion, and my opinion, professor, is just as valid as your opinion,
Because
so
the
where do you get off,
question
professor, telling me I'm
probably
wrong?
isn't going to be, is it okay to step on a cockroach from your moral perspective?
No, but listen to what you're saying. You're saying that majority opinion defines right and wrong. You're saying
I
that my
disagree
opinion,
with that. I
my
disagree with that
opinion
statement.
defines what's
It's
right
called
and
a
wrong.
straw man. I disagree with that statement. I don't think.
Well, then what's the basis of morality? Give me an answer.
What we as a society try our best to, with haphazard, attempts at government,
Yeah.
to collectively decide
Yeah.
what is right and wrong.
Wow.
The reason we don't just take.
Wow.
So why do you think our laws have to
Yeah.
change?
Well, I'm just real grateful you're not a black person living at the time of the Dred Scott decision. Because all of a sudden, according to the U.S. Supreme Court, you're 3/5 the value of a white person. So you're going to really stand here and tell me that morality is defined by the people in power or the majority opinion or your environment? Give me a break. That's scary. Racism is wrong, not because of anything the U.S. government says. Racism is wrong because we're human beings created in the image of God, and God don't make junk. He makes valuable human beings. But man, you are floating in a sea of relativity that you're going to drown in real quick. In fact, you can't live it out. It's impossible to live it out. Because you know very well that if someone hurts you badly enough, you're not going to say, well, from my relative perspective, what you did was wrong. But I realize it's all just relative. You can't live that way, man. You know you're going to look into someone's face who denigrates you, and you're going to say, that was wrong when you denigrated me. Don't do that again. That's objectively wrong.
Again, you don't know what I would do in any situation.
I'm
right?
betting. You're right. I'm a betting
Okay.
guy.
And what I'm saying is, honestly, I am the kind of person who really, truly does let people walk all over me. You know why? Because I understand that everybody has their own unique lens that they see the world through.
Good.
But I can never even begin to imagine, right? I can never begin to imagine what led them to the point of them thinking what
Correct.
they think.
Good.
However, that doesn't necessarily mean that from my relative subjective moral compass,
Right.
I agree with everything that everybody else says. But I would still consider people who disagree with me to still be moral,
Ma'am,
despite not
I
following
understand.
necessarily a laid out
but you and I are very different. If I see someone stealing from you, I'm not going to say, okay, now, based on your environment that you grew up in, stealing from her is okay, so go ahead, sir, just steal from her. No, I'm not. I'm going to say, don't steal from her, because that's highly disrespectful, so don't steal her stuff. And I can promise you, ma'am, if someone tries to rape you, I'm going to physically get involved and try and stop them. Why? Because I am convinced that rape is wrong. Not because of my environment, not because of my own cultural tradition, but you have a value that comes from your creator, and when a man tries to rape you, that is evil. And I will
cultures
physically
that
try and stop
promote
him.
rape culture prolifically, especially in non-developed countries.
Yes,
Those kinds of things are considered moral in a lot of areas.
that's correct, and they're
Right.
wrong.
Exactly.
And Nazi Germany is wrong when it dumps on Jews and has Dachau and Auschwitz and
But
Duke
sir,
involved.
there are probably things that I think that you don't think, right? About
Yeah.
what? Right.
So the question is, who is the basis of morality?
Well, obviously we disagree on everything, so there must not be an objective basis.
According to your worldview, but I'm saying the way you live your life shows that you do believe that at times, maybe not many times, but a few times, there are objective morals. And I'm saying, guess what? Wake up and smell the coffee. The only way that can be true is if there is some type of mind prior to the human mind who defines and creates human value and right and wrong.